some countries are interested in how the UK has transitioned pretty quickly from a very heavily landfill-dominated system to one that has much more emphasis today on recycling and energy from waste. And I think, again, that makes both our technology and some of our services, environmental consultancy, for example, of particular interest to countries that are struggling with similar challenges.
Okay, there are some interesting questions in there. We've definitely come a long way in the last 10 to 15 years. I guess two questions. Does that make us thought and practice leaders, or does it make us recent learners? And what's more attractive?
I think it shows that we took on a big challenge. We had to improve, as you and I both know. Recycling rate was something like only 10%, not more than 15 years ago. And I think it shows that people are interested in how, as a country, we got the politics and the policies and the investment right to make quite a big shift over that time. And people want to learn from that.
Okay. And Stuart, what are they looking for, and why did they look for it in the UK?
Certainly our experience, they're looking for how do we consolidate, how do we pull all these things together, how do you put the bins with the bin lifters, with the Supa tracks, with the dynamic routing, how do you work across the supply chain, how do you bring new services, new technologies, new products to market, and because our market's changing so rapidly, and because we've broken many of the boundaries that exist in other countries in terms of, well, that's waste, you do that with it, and we were into, well, we can make that product, we can make this material. You're getting a lot more interest in saying, well, how do you do that? Well, how do you pull these two together? How do you make a solution out of 5 different things?
Okay. Well, can I pick up on the point that Mathew raised? He said that we've come a long way, we've introduced a lot of new thinking. I asked quite a difficult question. Does that make us leaders? Does that make us the technology market of choice for other people to hook into, or are other people in front of us? Jonathan, let's start with you. Are we leaders?
I think it depends what we're talking about. I think certainly we're leaders in some fields, in some areas. We're certainly not leaders across the board. There are particular things I think we do well, probably do better than anybody else. But almost certainly, if you're looking at the breadth of technologies and products and experiences, others have the lead in certain areas too. So I think we have to focus on what we're good at.
Okay, right. Jason?
I think we are, from a technology standout. I think if you look at recycling, it's the big question, isn't it? You know, if you look at a lot of the mainland Europe countries, they're ahead of the game and they use technology in a better way. However, saying that, we're starting to look at recycling adoption rates. How do you measure those adoption rates? Yeah. What's kind of interesting for me, because a lot of it's been forced in places like, say, Netherlands, for example, where a lot of them are paying for refuse that goes to landfill or isn't recycled to the kilo. Yeah, they've looked at it. But what we're finding in the UK now, we've got to come up with other methods of doing it. And I think a lot of that's down to, dare I say it, the government doesn't have the will to push through. Yeah, so if you take like the pickles money, for example, does that help to get recycling sorted? No, it doesn't. Yeah. But what's happening over time is that everybody starts to say, okay, we've got these guidelines on carbon output, recycling rates. Let's see how we can push that forward. And I think there's a lot to be learned from the work that we've done, and when I say the common group of suppliers into Europe, to say, okay, we've done some great work over helping out the Germans or the guys in Netherlands, how can we use that in the UK now? Yeah, because the challenge is different, because at the moment it's not being legislated. Yeah. It's sort of being driven, isn't it? It's not saying you must paper way. That's the way it is. Yeah, as they have done in some municipalities in mainland Europe, and likewise, if you look at Germany, I think half the municipal bin collections have tags on them. Yeah, so that's something that they force through at that level. So I think we are in certain areas. I think the key for us now, my challenge, I think, from our business perspective, and it's sort of passionate really, is all about how do you increase that recycling adoption rates, and how do we use the technology to do that? I know we've worked on projects together, June, haven't we? Yeah. Measuring, weights of recycling out of street segments, where you can actually say, okay, this street segment's great, this one's quite poor, and then how do you put incentives around that? So I think there's a lot to be done in that area. So for me, it's two answers really. Yes, in one area, but no in others. I think the whole recycling bit we need to start to catch up on.
Well, I can kind of tell that Julian's about to chime with that, but before I allow him to do that, look, I've got to jump in there and agree with you. I think we are pretty innovative in some areas. I think we're recent learners and adopters in other areas. But I also think that we're peculiarly British. We're very good at beating ourselves up, particularly when it comes to statistics and using those statistics to try and compare ourselves with other near European, let's call them neighbours or competitors.